So if we move on to the Eldon buildings, now these buildings have lost some of their grandeur in recent years, but they were built as the Barnsley YMCA, so the Young Men's Christian Association, which I guess most of you will know is a national organisation that works with young people. The section on the left was built in 1909, and that was the first YMCA building that was built. And then the second half on the right was built shortly afterwards in 1910 to match. So this is the building when it first opened. And as you can see, it originally had this lovely decorative pediment on the top floor to match the one next door. Now, sadly, that's been lost. You can also see the beautiful curved glass shop fronts on the ground floor. And there was quite a lot of that on Eldon Street. So you had shops on the ground floor and then community uses and other uses for the buildings above. You also see that with the Empire Theatre and with the Public Hall, Mechanics Institute. And yeah, those shop fronts are absolutely gorgeous. And if you look at the building now, you can actually still see the pegs for the YMCA signage running across the front, and also the carved foundation stone from when it was opened. We do have a beautiful postcard from when it opened, which just shows just how exciting that was. So there was, like I said, the shops on the ground floor. You've also had meeting rooms, games rooms, and even a gymnasium upstairs in the attic. And you can see from this picture that the gymnasium had glazed panels along each side to give sort of light into the space. This building remained in active use right through until the 1980s, and a lot of people have talked to us about playing table tennis here, sort of in the 60s and 70s, and there was a big table tennis league in Barnsley at the time. And this postcard in itself is particularly interesting because another part of Eldon Street's history is a famous photographer called Warner Gothard Jr., who, with his siblings, had a studio on Eldon Street and pioneered this sort of postcard in the early 1900s. And they were called montage postcards, and they were used to celebrate events like the opening of the YMCA, or disasters like the Public Hall disaster, sadly, in the early 20th century, or big visits, kind of royal visits and that kind of stuff. And these became extremely popular in the early 1900s. And they developed on Eldon Street. Warner Gothard was also famous for his portrait photography and went on to become a royal photographer, photographing all sorts of famous people. His siblings are less known than him, but they were involved in the business, and he became a benefactor of Barnsley. So we've got that for Eldon Street. The postcard also highlights something else we've been exploring through the HAS, and that's the lack of diversity in how Eldon Street's history is often represented. So you can see here all of the people, the important people recognised on this photograph are men. So as part of the HAS, we're actively looking to uncover and celebrate some of the more diverse stories of Eldon Street. For instance, there have been an awful lot of women business owners on the street. We've been looking into their stories, along with looking at the stories of the performing artists and others who came to work on Eldon Street from all over the world, and we'll cover a few of those later.